From LinkedIn News, I'm Leah Smart, host of Everyday Better, an award-winning podcast dedicated to personal development. Join me every week for captivating stories and research to find more fulfillment in your work and personal life. Listen to Everyday Better on the LinkedIn Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Break language barriers instantly by translating up to 44 languages in real time with the HP AI PC, powered by the Intel Core Ultra processor. With the right tools, work doesn't have to feel like work. Learn more at hp.com/AI PC.
It all depends on the person. Like, who are you speaking with? Some people I could instantly have a candid conversation with, like, bro, your house isn't worth 2.7. Like, your house is worth 2.2. Other people might be a lot more sensitive. Maybe they're super emotionally attached to their house. Maybe they don't want to hear they don't want to hear no. Maybe they just want to hear yes. And so you're like a therapist, you're like a psychologist, like you're working all these different spheres to figure out, who am I working with? How can I communicate with them effectively? And how can we arrive at the conclusion that helps them, helps us, helps everyone?
Hey, I'm Kwame Christian, and you are about to step into the world of Negotiate Anything, the #1 negotiation podcast in the world, where we teach you how to make difficult conversations easier while getting more of what you want in the process. Each episode is packed with practical tips and strategies from the experts. We delve into negotiation, conflict resolution, and leadership skills that are crucial in both business and in life. Whether you're closing a deal, managing a team, or navigating personal relationships, Negotiate Anything provides you with the tools you need to succeed. Our conversations are real, relatable, and most importantly, rooted in practicality. So if you're ready to transform your conversations and elevate your negotiation skills, join me on Negotiate Anything. Subscribe and listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you love to listen. Let's make every conversation a winning negotiation. Nikko, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Kwame.
Yeah, it is our pleasure, my friend. So how about you get us started by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do real estate with Maurizio Umansky. I work at the agency here in Los Angeles. Our office is in Beverly Hills. So I'm a real estate broker. We help clients buy and sell real estate. And obviously negotiation is a big part of what I do. So me and Kwame actually met at one of the agency's seminars. If you haven't seen Kwame speak publicly, he's absolutely incredible. I was captivated, and we just became fast friends. And now whenever he's in LA, we hang out and he destroys me in chess. So that's our relationship.
I love it, man. Listen, I wasn't going to say it, but you said it. So yes, listeners, this is great. Nikko and I, we vibed immediately. So I had a great time with the agency events in Austin, Texas. It was a great keynote. I tell you, your team, the atmosphere that you all were able to create at that event, I mean, it was just indicative of the cool culture that you've put together. So it must be cool being part of that team, because you started just a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, so I started last year, and it's been the worst time that you could possibly start in real estate. So this is equivalent to, forget 2008. That was a better market because you had people foreclosing. It was a sadder time, but you had people foreclosing on their properties. People were kind of forced to sell. There were deals to be had, so people were buying. There was still transactions. But if you look back at transaction volume, this is the lowest it's been since the housing crisis in the 80s. So for us to be on par with that, this is one of the worst markets in history. That being said, I'm going to discuss a little bit later about how negotiation has helped me become a better agent, and training and my constant need and desire to continue to learn and be a better agent has really fueled my business. And in this year, a lot of people are not doing any business. I've been able to do 5 transactions this year, and it's all because getting out there, putting yourself out there, and hustling, which I know people who are tuning in to listen in on negotiation, I'm sure have some business acumen. They're looking to improve themselves. People are listening to this podcast. So I'm going to share some examples of how I've done that. Hopefully you learn a little bit about the real estate market too. I think it's a market that everyone should know about. But more broadly, we're going to talk about how negotiation is really a common thread, whether you're in real estate, whether you're selling cars, whether you're doing your day-to-day job, whether you have a 9 to 5, you're still negotiating. You got to negotiate for your salary, right? If you're going to get a raise in salary, you got to negotiate. So there's a lot of common threads. So you're going to get tinges of real estate, touches of real estate, but I think more broadly, if you're tuning in, it's going to be about negotiation as well.
I love it, man. And here's the thing too, because your approach clearly is leading to success. Because when you're talking about transactions, Nikko, we really have to paint the picture of what type of deals that we're talking about. Because I'm out in Columbus, Ohio, the market is a little bit different. You're out there in Beverly Hills, the property value is a little bit different. So can you paint a picture to the audience of what negotiations look like in your world?
Absolutely. So just for context, I quit a really well-paying job to get into real estate. And at first it was because I had a great connection in the real estate world who was encouraging me to make the leap. But like you said, you're in a state where the property values are much less than Los Angeles, California, which is one of the main cities in the United States / the world. So just for context, my first deal was a $3 million house. Now, when you break down the commissions on that, a buyer's agent takes home minus splits and all that stuff. They're taking home 2.5% of that transaction. So if you do some simple math, it made a lot of sense to get into real estate. So $3 million properties in Los Angeles are pretty standard. You got to think if you're going to get an entry-level house in LA, to get something that's relatively nice, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with 1,800 square feet in a decent neighborhood, you're looking at like $1.5 to $2 million. So most people who are my age, who I'm 30, and they're, we're just entering the housing market and we're getting our first place. A lot of people are getting a 1-bedroom condo in an older building for $600,000. So it's just crazy. And when you look at the Midwest, you're getting a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house, 2,500 square feet for like $200K. It's crazy. So as an agent, since we get a fee off of whatever we sell, it makes a lot of sense to be in a market that has higher values. That being said, there's a lot of competition. With a lot of competition, it's really important to differentiate yourself. I wear, and this is no joke, I wear a full cowboy outfit out sometimes just to get conversational flow. I'll get 5 conversations I've calculated per day that I wear a cowboy outfit. Just, oh, where are you from? Where'd you wear that? And I used to live in the Midwest, so it's not too far off to be wearing a cowboy outfit, but it's a conversation starter. And then you start with, yeah, where do you live? Oh, I live in West Hollywood. Okay, West Hollywood. You like West Hollywood? Yeah, it's cool. Oh, where would you live if you didn't live in West Hollywood? I'd live probably Long Beach. I don't really like LA that much. Oh, do you own in West Hollywood? You renting? I rent, but I'm probably looking to own a space. Well, I'm a real estate agent. I'm going to give you my card. If you have any questions, let me know. I work with that area. So the cowboy hat, although it's kind of crazy, and it's nuts, it works. You have to just figure out what works for you and go with that. For me, I'm a confident person. Like, I'm fully cool with who I am, whatever I want to do. Like, I'm my own best friend / number one advocate. So you have an idea, execute it. Don't be afraid to execute it and move forward. So that's just a little background on how I think about real estate and life. And in LA, when the competition's so thick, it's not like I could just wear whatever I want and blend in and hang at home. Like, I have to make the effort to go out. I have to make the effort to put myself in places where I will get those victories and those wins. So, and a lot of it too is who you know, connecting with your sphere. People do business and sales in different ways. There's cold calling, door knocking, which are all great methods and methods that I probably will end up doing more of as time goes on. But so far for me, it's been totally interpersonal. I grew up in Los Angeles, so I know a lot of people here, and just connecting with them and putting the word out there has been really helpful for me to spark my business.
So listeners, you're seeing why I love talking to Nikko. You're just dropping all sorts of gems and just passing by. We're going to hone in on some of these because I love talking to folks who are in the real estate space, especially in LA and New York, because the environment is so competitive, because we don't just have the negotiation expertise that's required to close these deals. The marketing and sales at the front end is so important because you have to stand out. It's so incredibly competitive. And so you have to get people's attention first, demonstrate that credibility, and then make it clear that, hey, I'm an option for you without pushing too hard. And how do you balance that when it comes to the competitive ecosystem you find yourself in? Because that in itself is a negotiation too.
Absolutely. So the cowboy hat's great, but if you don't know shit about real estate, and pardon me cussing, I know your editor's going to have to beep it out. If you don't know anything about real estate, the cowboy hat doesn't matter. So you need something to qualify yourself. All right. So the qualifier, you could wear a SpongeBob outfit. It really doesn't matter, but you need a qualifier. It doesn't matter how you look. It matters what you know. For example, someone walks into an open house and I'm wearing my sweats and my t-shirt and all the other agents are wearing suits. just based off appearance alone, you're going to go with the guy who is wearing the suit. But what's your qualifier? This is the question that you really have to understand and know. My qualifier is, okay, which house are they walking into? What are the other houses in the neighborhood that look like that are at that price, 3-bed, 3-bath, whatever that they're looking for? What's the difference? 123 Main Street down the street. How is it different? Is it a 1-story, a 2-story? If an older couple walks into my house and I'm wearing sweats and I don't look qualified, what am I doing to qualify myself? So they walk in and I say, hey, how are you doing? Oh, we're doing good. We looked at the house. It's not really for us. We're looking for like a 1-story because our knees are bad. We're getting old. Oh, did you see 123 Main Street down the way? It's a cool house. I didn't really like how the fireplace is positioned, but it's kind of a nice option. You could go in, you've got the primary on the lower story. It's still got a pool. It might be an option for you. Or there's also 225 Main Street down the street even further. Now the guy wearing sweats seems like the best option because holy cow, he knows the market, right? So how are you going to qualify yourself? The other way to qualify yourself is working for a reputable brokerage. So when I go into a meeting with someone and they're thinking about listing their house with me, when I say I'm from the agency, it's one of the most prestigious brokerages in the world. Now, there are other brokerages that don't have that same level of expertise. You may hear a name and say, I don't know if I trust the brand, right? So you don't know if you really trust it. So the agency is trustworthy. So what are these qualifiers? The brand that you work for, your knowledge is really the most important piece, and knowing the market and knowing what's going on and giving examples of what you've done. Now, when you're breaking into the real estate agency, it's like a plastic surgeon, right? Do you want to be the first client for who goes in for surgery with this guy? Absolutely not. That is the most ludicrous thing. It's the same thing with real estate. So you got to find a good mentor in whatever field you're in. You got to find a good mentor who's going to be your qualifier instantly, because you might not know all the things that you need to know. But when you have a mentor, you could easily slap their brand on your pitch. So yeah, my name's Nikko. I work directly with the CEO of the agency, Maurizio Umansky, titan in our industry who's closed incredible deals for the last 30 years, and they're totally hands-on with me. So that's like instantly like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And then bring Maurizio to the listing appointment, show that he's there, and then get his advice as you're moving forward. You're going to get osmosis. You're also going to lose the deal if you don't bring in a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, you might risk losing the deal because you don't really know. And think about real estate. The thing about it that I've learned in the last year, there are 1,000,001 things that you have to know to get a transaction done. When people say, oh, I'm not going to use an agent, I'm like, good luck. Like the amount of paperwork, the amount of disclosures, the knowledge that you have to have, knowing what to do and when, I believe there's like 200 plus items that you need to execute in order to close a real estate transaction. Think about all the people involved in that. Think about all my inspectors that I have to call when I'm looking through a house. Think about my transaction coordinator who's helping with all the paperwork. What to speak of the car forms that you have to be a realtor, a California Association of Realtor forms to be a realtor to access. Think about the hundreds of forms that I have access to. Are you going to have a lawyer draft all that? I mean, you could, but you have $1 billion organization backing all these contracts, and they're the industry standard. So it makes sense to go with a realtor who knows the forms, who can help you through all this stuff. But yeah, so anyways, a bit of a tangent, but yeah, that's a little tidbit on qualifying yourself and having the proper knowledge. And it's not just what you wear and getting the leads, it's also actually knowing your business.
Hello, my friends. Before we get back to today's episode, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever wondered how to elevate your team's negotiation game and how you can help the folks on your team have better, difficult conversations? At the American Negotiation Institute, we offer transformative keynotes and workshops tailored to empower professionals with top-tier negotiation and conflict resolution skills. Whether it's a keynote for your next event or hands-on training for your team, we've got you covered. Don't just negotiate. Master the art with the American Negotiation Institute. Click the link in the description to find out more. Elevate, negotiate, and succeed.
Introducing the HP AI PC, your powerful AI assistant. Easily search through personal files, gain valuable insights, and make smarter, more informed business decisions. Unlock the future of work today with the HP AI PC, powered by the Intel Core Ultra processor. With the right tools, Work doesn't have to feel like work. Learn more at hp.com/AIPC.
You're absolutely right. And just to recap for the audience, when it comes to qualifying yourself, your three things that you go to: first, showing people that you know the market, the credibility of the brand, and then strategically letting people know the connection that you have with such a powerful mentor. And so for listeners, if you don't know Mauricio Umansky, he's a big deal. Not just in the real estate space, but also crossing over into the mainstream with Hollywood, with the Netflix as well. So like Netflix show, I mean, you couldn't name anybody better in the industry as a mentor. And one thing I want to home in on is showing that you know the market. One of the mistakes that people make when they're trying to show off the fact that they know stuff is that it comes off as showing off, not being helpful. Because you're saying, all right, I'm going to listen, I'm going to empathize, I'm going to understand what they need, and I'm going to give them the amount of information they need to make a better decision and educate themselves in a relevant type of way. But other people, when they're insecure, you just hear them showing off encyclopedic knowledge of random things. And it is a major turnoff. So I love the fact that you bring that relevance in there too.
Totally. It's way easier to be an encyclopedia of, oh yeah, this fact, that fact, because it takes you 2 minutes to learn the fact and it takes you 2 minutes to explain the fact. It takes you 3-4 hours to understand the market in a neighborhood and 2 minutes to deliver the important information that they need. So it's a lot harder to be helpful versus actually just knowing a fact or two or three. And it's actually such a turnoff. It's like, I didn't need to know about that information, and then you've already lost them. So yeah, there are three things that really determine the value of a transaction, whether if something's sitting on the market for a long time. For example, if I have a listing, there are three things that really determine whether or not it's going to move. Okay, the first thing is the agent. Is your agent taking calls of clients that are coming in? And I've seen scenarios where no, they're not taking calls, they're not reading their emails. And it's just the craziest thing to me that these people exist, but they do. So they're not taking calls, they're not reading their emails, they're not saying, hey, we just got a lead. Hey, they're not doing the showings, they're not doing their job. That's number one. Number two would be the marketing. Okay, so what do your pictures look like? What is your listing description? How are you putting it out there? Are you doing social media posts? Are you doing, are you posting on the MLS, which for us is like the Zillow for agents? And number three is the price. What price are you going out at? And this is where the negotiation part of our conversation comes in. So the price, is it too high? Is it too low? What does the market determine as the proper price for your property? And what are you priced at? Now, it's kind of counterintuitive here because a lot of how you price something is a really, really, really important piece of the puzzle on whether a piece of real estate sells or not. And when you think about the price, obviously, both the listing agent and the person selling their house want to get the highest possible price for your house, right? I get paid more if I sell the house for more. My client gets paid more if we sell the house for more. So we're both on the same page immediately that we want to sell the house for the highest price possible. So now how do we arrive at that number? A lot of sellers think their house is way more valuable than it actually is. It's a natural thing to think that they have the best house in the neighborhood. I don't know if it's an ego thing or what, but sometimes I say, hey, what do you think your home's worth? And they'll say, oh, I think it's 2.7 million. I'm going, this house is not selling for over 2.2 and the best day on earth. You know what I mean? So they don't really know. But what happens is, and the big issue with someone who thinks that their house is expensive and is attached to that idea, first of all, it's unrealistic. But more importantly, when you list a house, when I list a house and it's for sale and I go on the market at 2.7 when it's actually valued at 2.2 and we get zero activity that first week, we get zero activity the second week, third, it's sitting there. And you know what happens when it sits there? It racks up days on market. And if you know anything about sales, scarcity creates demand. When you have something that has sat there with no scarcity, no interest, no nothing, what does it do? You're already way priced out of the market. When you reduce your price, your days on market stays the same. And they're thinking, what's wrong with this house? And it kills interest. Now, if you underprice it, let's say your price, and this is, by the way, full disclosure, this is the LA market because it's so competitive. If you price that $2.2 million valued house at, let's say, $1.9 million, you're going to have 70 people come to your first open house. You're probably going to have 5 to 10 offers on the house. And you're going to have leverage to say, hey, Bob offered us 2.1 million, and we have 3 other people who have verbally said that they're going to be offering, and I've let them know that we're already at 2.1 million. At this point, the 70 people who have walked through the house have emotional buy-in on the house, and now the price becomes irrelevant. Now it becomes this kind of bidding war thing. I hate to use that word, but it becomes almost like a bidding war, right? Where everyone's like attached to the house now and they want to win this house. So it's a really tough market to be in LA because of this. And agents will intentionally price the house a bit lower than the actual value to get a massive amount of interest. It helps offload the property quickly, and you're able to leverage different offers against each other. So it's an interesting thing. And this is where, like, I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on this, but I'll let you go ahead and yeah, if you have any questions, Kwame, for me, well, I'm just going. So
This is so good. You just wound up the Kwame negotiation doll. I love this because the negotiation starts off with the pricing strategy, right? But even before we get to the pricing strategy, we have oftentimes the tougher negotiation that you have with your own client for what the price should be. Because there's a difference between you as a real estate professional knowing how you should price things and you as a real estate professional successfully persuading your client to post the house at the right price. And so in psychology, this is called the endowment effect. So once you own something, you value it higher. And so every year that somebody spends in the house, they're investing more emotionality into it, and that price point goes up and up and up. So if the same house belonged to somebody else, they would say this is a $2.2 million house. But if that same house belongs to them, this is like 2.7 because of the emotional tax.
exactly.
So that's one of the tough negotiations. Then let's say we actually get it down on the market for something that is too high when we don't get the appropriate buzz. Really what this is this lack of the scarcity principle is not acting in our favor. But even more so than that, it's social proof, which is the wisdom of the crowds. What are the crowds saying? Crowds are saying something's wrong with this house. And so they're not going to investigate further. That's the thing. It is an emotional conclusion that they come to. Everybody is saying no to this house. It's been on the market for how long? What's wrong with this house? Pass on it. They're not going to dig deeper. And then on the other side, it's still ultimately an emotional decision because they're saying, wow, there are how many offers on this house? It's been on the market for like 3 days and it's already got offers. Everybody wants this. I want it too. And again, they're using that same psychology, looking at the masses, seeing what they're doing, and then following suit. Ultimately, it's still an emotional decision, but there's so many layers of persuasion we have to get to in order to arrive at that conclusion.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, there's all these different strategies that you could use. At the end of the day, it really comes down to what does the buyer want and what does the seller want? That's the bottom line. So what's really important, and like you said, the first negotiation is figuring out when you're going to list a property, okay, how am I going to figure out and kind of back into this situation where the seller becomes more realistic? And that's a really sensitive conversation. That's a sensitive thing because this is something that they own. There also is a level of like mistrust with agents, right? Like, oh, is this agent, I don't really trust them or whatnot. That's a barrier that you have to overcome. But the most important thing when I'm thinking about going on a listing appointment or potentially listing a house for sale is, what is the client, like, what are their goals, right? Like, I want to hear their goals. Why are they selling this house? Sometimes I will literally tell them not to sell their house. Just yesterday, I had an appointment where it was actually a dear friend of mine who lives up in the canyons in this beautiful house, and they're concerned about fires because there are fires in Los Angeles, and they've been in the house for 30 years. They're like, we want to sell it and we want to move to this neighborhood. And I looked at the value of the house and the neighbor. I said, this is what you would get in this neighborhood. And frankly, I don't really see you making that move because of your lifestyle, what you like to do. The guy likes to work on motorcycles. He's got a big garage. It makes a lot of sense where he's at. And I had to kind of understand, number one, what's your goal having me help you? What's your goal? What are we arriving to, right? Another person's goal might say, hey, I want to sell the house and move to Hawaii. Okay, well, how much is a house in Hawaii that you're looking for? 1.5 million. Okay, and you're looking to get what from your house? Oh, $2.7 million. Well, your house is worth 2.2. We could still accomplish your goals, which is the good news, but this is the price. So trying to understand, okay, what are their needs? What are their wants? And then strategically and tactfully arriving at obviously something fair. My job, and I have a fiduciary duty to my clients, is to make sure that I'm honest, that I'm working in fair dealings, and that they're taken care of. So that's the utmost important quality of mine that I like to present with whoever I'm doing business with. Because at the end of the day, it's like your reputation. And that's why people will come back to you. So if you are an honest person, if you are telling people honestly, a real estate agent telling me not to sell my house, even though they'd make $100,000 on the transaction, there's something like, oh, he actually cares about me because I do. You know what I mean? So, and then that'll lead to referrals in the future or whatever, or when they decide to sell, if they do for another reason, that'll lead to a potential sale. But it's so important to be honest, to deal fairly, and make sure that you take care of the people that you're working for. Obviously, in any industry, it's good to be honest. So yeah, I think it's an interesting negotiation when you're going in and someone has an inflated value of their house. There's a myriad of ways that you could kind of share with them that, hey, your house really isn't worth this. So number one would be pull the comps. Share recent properties that have sold in the area. Down the street, there's a house that sold for 2.2 million, same bed bath count, same amenities. It had a pool just like your house, same kind of finish work that you have. There's another house that sold for 2.1 million, and this had the same stuff. The ones that are selling for 2.7 have an extra bed and bath and an extra 400 feet, and they have a pool and a jacuzzi, and that they have a bigger backyard, and they're maybe newer finishes. And so you kind of arrive at this value where it all depends on the person. Like, who are you speaking with? Some people I could instantly have a candid conversation with, like, bro, your house isn't worth 2.7. Like, your house is worth 2.2. Other people might be a lot more sensitive. Maybe they're super emotionally attached to their house. Maybe they don't want to hear they don't want to hear no. Maybe they just want to hear yes. And so you're like a therapist, you're like a psychologist, like you're working all these different spheres to figure out, who am I working with? How can I communicate with them effectively? And how can we arrive at the conclusion that helps them, helps us, helps everyone?
Brilliant. Because you're focusing on the outcome. You're focusing on the outcome that is best for the client. And again, a lot of real estate agents might understand what that outcome is, but do they have the type of relationship? Do they have the trust? And do they have the persuasion skills to get their client to agree with them on that ultimate conclusion? That's the tricky part. Exactly. But I love that you started off with trust, because yes, you have the fiduciary responsibility, and everybody in the industry does. The problem is that even if you are truly a fair dealer and being honest, that doesn't always automatically shift the perception of the other person, because they're going to say, well, Nikko's here trying to sell, so of course he's going to say nice things. But one of the things that you demonstrated is beneficial when it comes to building trust is a statement against interest. It would be in your best interest to sell whatever and put it as high as a price as possible. But you're saying, hey, listen, that is not in our collective best interest, nor is it in yours in particular, because of these reasons. And so you're building that trust, and then you're letting the data decide. Here's the information. It is not me hating on your house that you lived in forever. This is the market. I wish I could get you that price. The market says otherwise. Right? Exactly. This is so powerful. And then lastly, your willingness to flex. Because after you're having these conversations, you're making a read on the people. And for some people, they need all of the detailed evidence and maybe several conversations and maybe a little bit of pain to change their perspective. And other people, it's like, no, I'm getting a read on this person. I can just talk straight. We can work through it. Yeah. But again, that shows your negotiation skills, because you're willing to flex and adapt based on who's in front.
Totally. No, you hit the nail on the head. You're 100% right on. Let me know when you're ready to get your license out here, Kwame, because if you grasped it like that, I mean, I can't wait to take you on a listing appointment. That'll be amazing.
I appreciate it, man. No, this is great. And you've been dropping gems this whole episode. And for you, because I know it's so funny, because yes, technically you're starting off your career, but you're coming in here with so much experience and so much skills. Whenever I chatted with you, it did not feel like you were new in this. And I think it's so important to bring your fresh perspective, because times have changed so much just in the last few years. So bringing your mindset and your negotiation skills that are working in such a competitive environment, I think there's so much that the listeners can get from it.
Totally.
And for you, you're very active online, you're building up your social profile. For the folks who want to follow you and learn more and connect, what would you say is the best way to do that?
Instagram would probably be the best way to do it. So my handle is at Nikko Show, NIKKOSHOW. It really is a show. You don't know what you're going to get. You could get some crazy videos. You could get some real estate related content. Sometimes I post a video and I'm like, I may have just lost a couple of clients from this video. I don't know, but I hope people work with me because I'm authentic. It's kind of the concept of sweats at an open house, but knowing your stuff, like people will still want to work with you. So yeah, please follow me on social media.
Love it. Nikko, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother. Really appreciate it.
You're the man. Thanks for having me, Kwame. You're the best. Take care.
Wait. Now, before you sign off, I have something to tell you that I've never told you before. Just kidding. I've told you before, but you should listen to it again. I want you to know about Negotiate Anything Premium. Imagine all of the things that you love about our traditional feed, plus so much more. I know you like our traditional feed because you're at the end of the episode. And with Negotiate Anything Premium, you'll get more bonus content you've been asking for, more of the expert insights that you can't get anywhere else, and more exclusive behind-the-scenes access into every conversation. Are you ready to get more of what you want out of your life, career, and every conversation? With Negotiate Anything Premium, you'll have access to more high-level, custom-designed content and insights, giving you the tools you need to negotiate higher salaries, better deals, and better relationships in your life and career. Once I had a listener share that Negotiate Anything helped her to negotiate a $53,000 raise. Could this be you? What would that mean for your life? I've seen firsthand the impact this model has had on my life and the lives of my corporate clients, and I am confident that it can do the same for you. Are you ready to negotiate more of the best things in life? Click the link in the show notes to learn more. I'll catch you later.